G'day, this is Captain Noob, and I'm going to do something a little bit different today. So, from the title, you can probably deduce what I'm about to talk about. So, this is the sort of the backstory and information about Swan. Now, I go ahead and kill this dude quite a lot in my videos, but he's actually got some sort of depth to him, and I don't think a lot of people know about this. So, we'll get into actually seeing what he's all about. That's him over there. Yep, I've just awakened him, but don't worry, he won't attack us. I haven't got AI detection on. So, getting into his backstory here, we've got a few notes here, which I will go ahead and read out to you. Alright, so, his name is Edgar Swan, and this is day one, so... I nipped a few cigs, big deal. Smartasses may run this place, but they just can't do whatever they want. I got rights. Trial worked out for me in the end. They agreed to a probation. I stay inside for a month, write something every day, and they'll bring me all the food and water I want. They think this is punishment? Sure beats scrubbing the floors all day. Next up, we've got the day 6, so skipping ahead 5 days, so... Should have known something was wrong when they came back for more tests. Every bone in my body aches. I'm on the edge all the time. Jittery. I can barely write. But my mind's just racing. Damn it, what's going on? What'd they do to me? Next up is day 14, so skipping ahead a couple more days. So Edgar Swan, day 14. My physiological evolution seems to have stabilized. The medical team says my muscle mass has more than tripled since the experiment began, and my neural efficiency has improved markedly. This particular strain of modified FEV had been a remarkable success, and I appear to have received all the anticipated benefits without the typical adverse effects. My application to join the research team is awaiting the director's approval. Although further tests may be in order, I hope to be able to assist with my own experiments in the coming days. So obviously this guy was nabbed for stealing something, and his punishment, rather than jail or anything, is going ahead and being experimented on by people, which is rather horrific. So skipping forward to day 21. So, Edgar Swan, day 21. Seizures continue. After this second one this morning, I was ordered back to the observation lab for further study. My prognosis is poor. I made the discovery myself. The viral strain I was infected by is fundamentally unstable. My mental capacity peaked 2 days ago and had become rapidly deteriorating. The seizures are just the beginning. Will they reject me like all the others? And then coming on later on, you find this last note here, and it says... You are Swan. So obviously this guy sort of, instead of being, treated like any regular criminal would, in the world of Fallout where science has run rampant and mankind is hell-bent on destroying itself, this guy, instead of being punished like a regular dude, he was subject to modified strains of FEV, and slowly, while it, first of all, it sort of helped him out, he sort of went along and lost his mind, and yeah, he is a Swan now. So now I believe his occupation was in fact a groundskeeper of some description, and this may be his voice here. So here's the groundskeeper log. Chuck that in the Pip-Boy.
Seriously, this is getting freaking ridiculous. Merging the common and public garden was a jagged enough pill to swallow, but I went along with it. What, I'm gonna fight the developers? How much smaller can they really make the Swan Pond? We get boats crashing into each other every day. It's like a glorified puddle. But what do I know, right? I'm just the groundskeeper of the world's smallest grounds. Might as well stay home from now on. My garden's bigger than this. At least I get to eat the peppers and cucumbers, not watch tourists cry in disappointment.
So there you have it. So obviously he had a little bit more dramas in his life before turning into this. Now what's sort of interesting about him is his unique apparel. So obviously he's got a tire, there's a swan boat, fragments there, and he's actually got one of the boats in his arm, which he uses as sort of a bludgeoning tool, and that's him holding onto it there, which is really neat. Instead of the massive fire hydrant stick, he's got an anchor, and obviously all of this stuff is still around, but I'd like to think that all of the Swan stuff is him just holding on to his human identity as he was slowly taken over by the FEV, and I think it's a rather tragic story, all things considered. But there you go, there's the backstory of Swan. I'm going to go ahead and get into some of the interesting information now, so here we go. Obviously, Swan's gear is going to give him some degree of protection against enemy small arms fire or anything the like, so his stats are actually improved compared to other super mutant behemoths. He's actually got a little bit more damage resistance, which is interesting, so good on you, Swan. And here's a little bit of a documentation of the game sort of acknowledging of Swan as some sort of big scary mutant, so you know how much I miss you, but it's too dangerous. If you stay inside Diamond City, at least I know you're safe. If your mind's really made up, then be careful. Travel at night. Stick to the river, and whatever you do, don't go into the common. Obviously, this is where we are, that's where Swan lives. Now, interesting that they say travel at night, because according to Swan's AI, he'll actually go ahead and roam around in the middle of the night. I think it's from 1 AM to 5:30 AM, he'll actually get up, and always actually going back to sleep. So we'll go ahead and wait around until then and see if he goes ahead and roams. So it looks like we've got him roaming around a little bit. Looks like he's heading back to where he's going to sort of stay. So this is him when he's not aggro anymore. He'll sort of revert back to this state where he just sort of goes back to where he sits. And usually sits down right there. But since this is the daylight hours, or not the nighttime hours, he'll sort of roam around instead, which, going back to the note, is probably a terrible idea, so it'll probably be a lot harder to sneak by Swan if you haven't got the AI detection turned off. But there you have it, that's him roaming around. And back in the daylight hours, he goes back to sleeping in his pond as normal. It's also a nice touch that at the entrance here you can see the danger signs there, and even the railroad says people to, tells people to stay away from this place. And here we have another holotape documenting an encounter with Swan next to a skeleton whose skull is in pieces and only their arm remains. So let's pop that in.
Lost them?
Yeah, we made it, Molly. We made it.
Why'd they let us go?
No, come on. Let's keep moving.
Wait, the Common. You've heard about the Common.
Oh, God. Laura, look out!
And there goes them. So obviously a very, very creepy and scary encounter with Swan there, and obviously they didn't make it. Obviously, well, you wouldn't expect them to make it if a giant 2-story tall super mutant sort of hit you with that giant club. But there you go. One more interesting thing. I think Swan's design is actually based on some concept art from the Fallout concept art book that has been released. I'll put the picture up on screen now so you can go ahead and look at it. It's a pretty cool rendition of what Swan's going to look like, and definitely see why it got through. Anyway, so for the last thing about Swan, when you wake him up and he does his old roar thing, he actually sort of says Swan, and it's all nice and distorted, but you can actually make it out if you sort of listen in. So we'll go and aggro him. He'll do his roar. Hopefully. Yeah, a little bit delayed, but I think you get the idea. You can go ahead and roll back the footage if you'd like to hear that again, but I think that's pretty good. Also, Swan is actually hurting himself with battering his thing down. So while he's attacking us, we don't give a shit, whatever. You can actually find a Grognak the Barbarian thing here too, if that's your thing, so pretty useful thing. So while Swan's attacking us, I think that is a good way to close out the video. You know what, we might as well go ahead and take him on. Not sure what difficulty we're on, but we're doing a pretty good job to him with our advanced 10mm pistol. I think God mode is on, so I've got it unlimited ammo. And he goes down. Definitely not do console commands at all to speed that up. But there you have it. That was the backstory of old Edgar Swan over here, and something else shooting at me. Ah, super mutants. He must have aggroed them. And obviously he drops the Furious Power Fist. Lots of Fallout normies think this is the only power fist in the game, but they're wrong. That's a good weapon to have if you're planning an unarmed build. And obviously you can pick up the Swan boat fragments on him, which give you fiberglass. So entering that inventory there. Yeah, fiberglass, plastic and steel, and obviously from the heads. Excuse me, mutant. Well, he's a bit tanky, isn't he? Not used to these guys being so tanky, but at level 1. Wow, he's got Deathclaw meat. That's probably why he's so tanky. So we'll pick those up. And if you drop those down, they'll actually be the little swan heads, so you can chuck them around your house to let everyone know that you've ended the swan beast. But there you go, a rather tragic backstory of a super mutant that we all know and love, to kill that is. And yeah, thank you for watching, guys.